Welcome to the show. I'm Lisa Ellen Smith. As executive producer of Focus on Business, I've decided to shoot a weekly update during the COVID-19 crisis. Each week, the leaders of the Small Business Association of Michigan will be with me to recap the week's news as it affects small business until this crisis is over. Thanks for watching this special edition of Focus on Business. Welcome, Rob and Brian Callie from the Small Business Association of Michigan. I have been following the messaging coming out of SBAM. I have to say it is a calming thing to me to see how you're interpreting what is coming at me right now as a small business owner and could be impacting my business. We're at week 1 right now for Governor Whitmer's executive order to shelter in place. Obviously, we're working remotely. But tell us how the Small Business Association of Michigan is dealing with this.
Yes, like most of our members, we are working entirely remotely. Our 27 employee staff is all working from their homes, but we're focused on helping small businesses all across our state navigate and sort of cope with this crisis. And so we've reoriented literally everybody's job towards answering questions, preparing to sort of vet information, make sure we have the latest on our website, and literally we are answering questions one at a time by our members who are submitting those questions through sbam@sbam.org, and we are all at work serving small businesses.
I'll tell you, I can feel it too. I get emails from you, and again, it's calming. We know that this is serious. I think that owners need to hear from you about the truth of this crisis. How serious is it from your perspective?
Well, this is about as serious as it gets for small business owners, and nobody knows how to take a punch like a small business owner. I mean, people who are entrepreneurs, in the best of circumstances, survival is difficult. And so you put on top of that everything that's been happening over the course of the last couple of weeks, especially, that makes it so challenging for our small business owners to stay alive. And that becomes our mission. That's what we do, is to provide information, to interpret, to guide our small business owners through this crisis. And our goal, our determination is for the other end of this, for the landscape to look like the type of landscape which has small businesses still. It's heartbreaking to see the type of weight that they're carrying right now and the tough decisions that they have to make. But we are determined to do everything possible to ensure that they'll be okay, that they'll be still going at the end of this. And so our message to state policymakers and in Washington, D.C. as well is that there is no recovery without small business. That it's not a nice to have, it's a necessary foundation for our economy. And so we're really quite insistent on this. And as we move forward in the short term and the long term needs of small businesses in Michigan, we know that this is a mission way bigger than business issues. You know, this is about the strength of our communities.
You know, and Lisa, I think Brian is exactly right about the imperative here. I think the other thing to say is there are a lot of resources coming to help small businesses, and our job is to help sort through those, help shape them in many ways as an advocacy organization. But I think our message really is a combination of, it's bad, 108,000 unemployment claims last week alone, but there's help coming. And I think help in ways that maybe small business owners have never experienced before. So we are optimistic that we will in fact come out of this on the other side.
Well, I hope so too. And I'm not in a place where I think that we won't, but it's so good to hear from you two about it. Speaking of what's weighing on our minds are the specific executive orders from the governor's office. Brian, can you talk a little bit about how that's impacting us?
Sure. So there's been dozens now of executive orders. And so what we're trying to do is stay on top of each of them, find the issues that impact how small businesses operate, things you have to know to comply with, things that you have to know in terms of how you're running your business, or if you can even run your business at all during this time. So we're sifting through those and then communicating on what is required. But we're also finding the gray areas, those areas that are vague, and we're seeking answers from our state government, from the governor's office, from Labor and Economic Opportunity, a state department, about these gray areas that our businesses are struggling with. And but in some cases, they're dealing with a lot of things, and they're not necessarily getting back quickly on a lot of the questions that we have. So we're constantly increasing our own knowledge and expanding out on these imperative directives that we're getting, and trying to fill in the blanks to the best of our ability to our member, to provide advice on how to move forward. Now, we're not lawyers, we're not giving legal advice, but we're giving practical advice and in identifying the areas in these orders that affect our members, and then connecting them with just some insight that we've heard from both state government all the way through to how other similar businesses are operating. And so because we're determined, we want our members to make it through. We don't want them to have to make the tough decisions about whether or not they're going to continue with their business. And so the overall closure order is probably the most, well, not probably, it absolutely is the most impactful one on our members. It's also the one that they've experienced the most frustration with. So we have dedicated our staff mainly to that executive order over this past week. And as we've been able to kind of try and map out how it works, how it affects different industries, we're sharing that with our members.
One of my staff members went on your website and downloaded a kind of a template for the explanation of having to go to work, and so my office manager and the COO of the company both have that now, which I was amazed. I didn't even know it existed, but yet they found it. So we really appreciate that. On the federal level, some things have happened. There's some things that have happened with SBA lending. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. So let's just run down a couple of things at the federal level that small business owners need to know. There is a disaster fund and the Small Business Administration. So that's not us. That's a government agency. The Small Business Administration has opened up a disaster loan fund that businesses here in Michigan can apply for. Now, there's a lot of people that got denied. They made the application and they got denied. And the reason they got denied was because the credit underwriting standards and the credit scores of individuals weren't good enough to meet their terms. They have now changed that. So I want to encourage anybody who's been denied and you still need that to operate, go back. If you got denied because of your credit score, go back and reapply, because they are now removing that criteria from their underwriting standards. So that's first things. It was working slow before because so many people were applying. Kind of a pro tip, maybe apply in the middle of the night when the traffic is a lot less. Works 24 hours a day, so go on in the middle of the night and might work a little bit faster. So that's the traditional SBA loan process, the portal directly to them. The connection is on our website. The link is on our website. They also passed a new mandate on employers. The federal government passed a mandate on employers that employers have to provide 2 weeks paid sick leave for people that are sick with the coronavirus, or caring for somebody who's sick, or quarantined because they've been exposed. So that's 2 weeks sick leave. And then on top of that, family medical leave for those who have kids at home because their schools are closed. And of course, that's everybody with kids at home of primary school age. So, so these are mandates on employers that can't really, a lot of them can't afford to pay it right now, but the federal government is doing 100% refundable tax credit to cover the costs of it. So, so again, links on our website on how that works. But if you're in a position where somebody that works for you qualifies for one of those mandates, you can get a 100% refundable tax credit to cover the cost of that for your employee. And then
wait a whole year for a tax credit, or what? How does that tax credit work?
Yeah, great question. This is something that we were most concerned about, because even if it was on your quarterly taxes, still, given the current environment, who can afford to wait till the next quarterly filing? So what the IRS has decided to do is allow for when you pay your withholding taxes, that you can hold back the costs for sick leave and the costs for the Family Medical Leave Act requirements. So you would do withholding on all of your employees. If you have some sick leave expenses, you can keep that money instead of sending it to the federal government. And if it's not enough to cover the whole cost, then you can also apply right there on the spot when you're doing your withholding for them to send you the difference. And again, the instructions are on our website, or at least the IRS guidance, I should say, is on the website. And hopefully this alleviates at least some of the strain for providing that benefit.
So those are what you were just talking about were the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That's that expansion of the FMLA. Okay, got it. I'm trying to go to school here. It's a lot. As we're taping this show right now, today, Congress is considering a stimulus package. So we're taping on Thursday. We're going to be bringing you a new show every single week based on what's happening, but the show airs on Sunday. So something may even happen between now and Sunday. So I would say if you're hearing something that you thought happened, but you didn't hear it on this show, go back to SBAM, take a look at it. I'm sure that they'll be updating information as we get it. But as it stands right now, Congress is considering that stimulus package. We're starting to leak some information about it. Can somebody tell us more about that?
Sure, and this is really exciting, and I'm confident that this, even though we're taping this on Thursday, this is still going to be relevant information on Sunday when people are watching. It's a $2.2 trillion stimulus package, and there's a section for small business in it. And we're happy about this because, well, the most of the time when they do these type of stimulus packages, they don't include small business. So in this case, they are, and it's $350 billion. It's done at first as a loan. So what they're saying is that a small business can go in for a small business administration loan. They call it the Paycheck Protection Act, and so you can apply for a loan that's limited to 250% of your monthly payroll expenses before the crisis started. Okay, so your regular monthly payroll expenses, that's the size of the loan you can get. And if you use it to pay payroll, pay utilities, pay rent, those sort of regular business operating costs, and you maintain your head count, you actually maintain the number of people that work for you, then they'll forgive the loan. They'll go back and say, okay, we gave you this loan to maintain your payroll, and you did. We verified you kept all these people working on your payroll, and since you did that, this loan gets forgiven. It means you don't have to pay it back. And so it's more like a grant in that sense. So we are thrilled with this because even though there's a process to it, it's going to be kind of a pain. You're going to have to go and apply for a loan. You're going to have to follow some rules to get it. But this is a small business relief package within the greater $2 trillion stimulus package that is moving through the process that we expect by the time this airs for it to be passed.
So there's 1,000 questions here just around what you said. I'm thinking I'm going to be having less business in the meantime. What if all my staff and I agree we're all going to take a 25% pay cut? Are we going to know more about that? Or is it just going to be, I've got this loan now, and now I did that, and now I got to pay it all back?
Yeah, great question. So there are more rules that will come out, and it's probably going to take a week or so for those rules to come out. But what they did put in there is that there will be, on the forgiveness part, there'll be a proration. So some people have already done layoffs. So if they use the money to to call people back and get them back on staff, and so that, in other words, they've maintained their employment for most of the year, they'll do a proration calculation to where there might be a portion of it that does not get forgiven. Also, when it comes to the rate of pay, some people are going to have to reduce the amount of pay for a time period, especially in management. And so what this will do is, it says that if you maintain the rate of pay, I think they put the percentage in there at 25%. So you might want to only do 24% reduction. But if you largely maintain rate of pay, you'll still qualify. But if you do reductions of more than 25%, they'll prorate that also.
Interesting. Well, we'll hear more, I'm sure, and we'll be here next week as more comes out. We have a few more minutes, and I want to really get to more about what can happen just by watching SBM, because it's been my lifeline for information. How can businesses get the latest interpretation of what's happening? Let me say that, and I say this to every business owner, and you know I'm obviously tied to you. I have great respect for everybody, but to all business owners out there, join SBAM. They have a free membership. At least get the communication that's coming out of SBAM right now. It's something I look forward to. I see that email come in. I open that email. I want to see what's happening. Even if I just skim it, there's often something, even in this non-crisis time, there's often something that I want to look into, dig in a little deeper. It's got some depth to it. It's not just fluff. But right now, when an SBM email comes in, I'm reading it, the whole thing. And sometimes I'm forwarding it on to other business owners that I know. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But Rob, what else? How can we stay abreast?
Well, Lisa, I appreciate you saying that. And honestly, I don't know that we've ever been in a time where things were so dynamic and so fluid and changing so rapidly that affect small businesses in a really dramatic way. So what we've begun to do is what we call our daily briefing. 3 o'clock every day on Zoom and Facebook Live, and you can just follow us on Facebook and get the notice and see that we'll go live every day at 3 o'clock. And Brian and I will continue to try to give you the latest, and that is the culmination really of a day's worth of tracking what's going on and really trying to get answers to questions that small business owners have. So daily briefing is one of the ways we're doing it. We've been doing this for 10 days. We did through the weekend last weekend, and we're just going to continue to use that vehicle as the latest update. But as a result of that, or in order to prepare for that, we also are finding that we're getting lots of questions about the same sorts of things. And so we're taking those questions, getting answers to them, and turning that into a frequently asked questions document or documents, and putting that up on our website so that our members really do understand. They may see their question, see themselves in the questions. I've had a number of our members say to us, I'm seeing questions I hadn't even thought of yet. And thank you for capturing them and answering them. And the other thing is really just the website as a resource. We're not just giving you links to go find information. We're finding it for you, bringing you very specific links, templates. You mentioned earlier that we were trying to put up a template for a letter you may need to give to your employees, or to designate yourself as a critical infrastructure company. So there's certain things you may have to do by the law, and we're trying to just give you the tools to do that, fact sheets and other things, really practical information that companies need in this time.
Yeah, I have to say I've tuned in semi-regularly to the 3 o'clock, and I haven't made all of them, but there's several things that happen there for me. One-to-one, I have that peer-to-peer experience. I see people's names in there that I know their businesses. I see you guys in there, and I know you're working on my behalf all the time, and that just makes me feel better. The other thing is you're bringing in guests that are answering these questions that are the absolute authority on these things. And so that to me has been really important. I want to say thank you for the work you're doing and will continue to do. I'm just going to encourage everybody to log in, tune in every Sunday at 11:30, but also 3 o'clock on Facebook Live on SBM. So thank you, gentlemen, and I'll see you next week.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Focus on Tech. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about team chats, how to do it, some do's and don'ts. We're all working from home now, and so we have lots of opportunities to do chatting online with Teams or with Zoom. Video chat is what I'm talking about. So we want to talk about the do's and don'ts around that. First, let's talk about your appearance. You are working from home, but you are working. So let's dress appropriately for work. Your peers are used to seeing you in a certain way. Now they see you without makeup, or you haven't shaved, or you're wearing a ball cap. So let's lose that stuff and at least present ourselves professionally from the chest up. Okay. The next thing is lighting. We need a camera that's going to not be swamped out by the light that's coming from the side or from the top. And a lot of times we have our video cameras focused from our laptop, and they're shining upwards, so they're going to see a light in the background. Or we have a camera angle there's a light or a bright light from a window over here, and that's going to cause a problem. So what you want to do is position your camera in such a way that you don't have that lighting, or you turn on a side light on the side and turn off the rest of the lights in the room so you have good lighting. The screen from your computer is going to give you good lighting on your face, so you don't need additional lighting around there. Let's talk about sound. You need a good quality microphone. If you have a video camera that's separate from your computer, it always comes with a built-in microphone, or use the microphone in your laptop. Now, of course, if you're doing that, you can't have it covered with a cover or those types of things, so you need the microphone exposed. Next, let's talk about the background. This is a nice background. I don't have a window behind me. I don't have a door behind me for somebody to walk in while I'm in the video chat. You can stick some books on your bookshelf so you can show people how smart you'll be when you're reading those books while you're working from home. But you want something nice. You don't want people to be looking at your unmade bed, or a dog laying across the bed, or some inappropriate artwork on the wall. You want something nice and appealing that's not detracting from the call, because they're going to be looking at you and they're going to be looking at that background the whole time. The other thing we want to worry about is background sound. Dogs barking in the background, kids crying in the other room, radio on, fish tank running, some of those things. The microphones in our cameras and the microphones in the computers are very, very sensitive, and they'll pick up that background noise. So let's minimize it. No radio, no TV streaming in the other room. That's going to cause interference. Next thing is kids and pets. Nobody wants to see your pet. Nobody wants to see you negotiate with your dog about, is it time to eat yet or not? They want to have a conference call with you. So let's minimize that. If there's kids, they want your attention too, but you have to put yourself in a position where they're not going to interrupt you. And finally, here's a good thing you can do. It's okay to drink on camera as long as you're using a company-approved logo mug. Stay safe out there.
Focus on Tech, brought to you by Providence, making technology easier.
Today's focus on legal is for those businesses who have been forced to close as a result of the recent pandemic. Now, businesses close all the time as a result of natural disasters and other unforeseen events, but the widespread nature of this pandemic is unlike anything we've ever seen, and the stress from owning one of those businesses can feel overwhelming. So, I'd like you to start by making a list of your top 3 priorities. This will keep your mind busy and will go a long way towards starting to alleviate some of that stress. Those priorities are likely your payables, receivables, and staff. For your payables, you're going to want to make a list of anybody you owe money to. Start with things like rent and insurance. Take auto pays off that you're auto paying right now for services you may not need. Keep a lot in cash reserve if you can, and start relying on those lines of credit. Also remember that you likely have a tax holiday right now. For receivables, you don't have a lot of money coming in the door, another stressor. So go through your list of customers and see if you can offer discounts for payment in full right now, and maybe even start offering gift cards and gift certificates for later use. This will not only get some revenue in the door, but will create a lot of goodwill for your customer base for the future. Staff is a difficult topic. Please rely on the State of Michigan website, which gives great advice for employers facing this difficult choice. If you've had to lay off employees, be sure to keep in touch with them over this time and help them access any of the unemployment resources that are available to them right now. Making a list of these priorities not only gives you a sense of control at this time when you don't have control over things like pandemics and executive orders, but it does start to alleviate some of that stress. Take care.
Focus on Law, brought to you by Policella and Associates, PLLC.
Before we sign off, I want to reiterate one final executive order from Michigan. Stay home, stay safe. Directing all Michigan businesses and operations to temporarily suspend in-person operations that are not necessary to sustain or protect life. The order also directs Michiganders to stay in their homes unless they're part of that critical infrastructure workforce, engaged in an outdoor activity, or performing tasks necessary to the health and safety of themselves or their families, like going to the hospital or grocery store. No one wants to look back and know that they were the carrier that infected others. Be careful and be responsible. This too shall pass. This has been a special edition of Focus on Business. We'll be bringing you weekly updates every Sunday from the Small Business Association of Michigan. Until then, I'm Lisa Ellen Smith. Be safe.